As rescuers race to find more survivors 3 days after they were trapped, scores of people, especially in the Ikoyi area, the death toll has actually risen to 22. Anxious family members and large crowds gathered near the site of the incident, hoping to hear news on the fate of those still trapped under chunks of debris and mangled steel where the building once stood.
It's still a very sad story. Now, the National Emergency Management Agency coordinator for Lagos State, Ibrahim Farinloye, confirmed the number of casualties, adding that 9 people were pulled out alive. Now, let's bring in our correspondent, Bernard Akede, who has been monitoring this story from the day one that it started. Now, good morning, Bernard. Thank you for coming on the program. Now, you've been our eyes, you've been our ears in the past 3 days at the collapsing. Tell us what you've seen in these past 2 days.
Good morning, Oluchi. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Africa. Well, basically, it clearly has been a very tragic incident. The 21-story building that came down in Ikoyi, highbrow area of Lagos. The first sad thing is that there's no manifest to tell how many people exactly were in that building as at the time that the building collapsed. It's also sad that regardless of how many were inside, in the past 3 to 4 days, we've only had 9 survivors from that building. Of those 9, 3 have been discharged from hospital. And as at today, as at early today, I believe the death toll had risen to 22 persons. It's really been sad. A lot of people coming there, staying from morning till late night. Some just family members, friends, relatives, hoping for any news that can come in from in or around the site, hoping that their relatives who possibly were there could still be alive even more than 72 hours since the building came down. There are more questions than answers. You know, was the building actually, did they have the approval for 21 floors as regards 15 floors like we heard earlier? Who exactly is the owner of the building? Was the building, built with approved materials, or were they substandard materials that were used for the building? And rumors flying here and there. It is, again, like I said, it is very sad. One would not have expected something like this, especially not in an area like Ikoyi. For those who know Lagos, Nigeria, Ikoyi is a very highbrow area of the state. So having this kind of incident happen in such a place like that was very disheartening and disappointing. And again, the number of deaths people fear will continue to rise.
Quite sad, Bennett, quite sad. Now, it must have been a tough time for families of deceased persons, as well as yourself, Bennett, taking a look and seeing sounds and people crying, and even the dead as they were being whisked away while they were pulled out from the debris. But let me also ask you this. There seemed to be agitations from the people, no doubt. They were talking about the slow pace of work. But big question again, what else might have caused their agitations while they were actually standing outside of that building?
Well, the very first issue, when the building came down on Monday, emergency workers rushed to get to the site as quickly as they could. You would expect that there will be traffic leading into that particular area because it was almost close of work. So the first agitation was at late night on Monday, which was the day that the building came down. Family members and relatives who stayed there all night said rescue workers suspended rescue operations at about the time that it began to rain. That was from, say, midnight or 1 a.m. Till maybe early hours of the morning, say between 4 and 5 a.m. So that was their first complaint and the first agitation, that if rescue work was not suspended, it's possible that more people would have been brought out alive and on time. And now, following into the second day, Tuesday, at some point while rescue work continued, the family members also got agitated when they noticed that for some time the excavators stopped running. They thought that the workers took a break, or that there was some problem of some sort. Now, at that point, the people who were watching, passers-by, regular bystanders, and family and friends of people who may have been trapped, decided to offer their own services. That if the workers were not enough, or if the heavy earth-moving machinery they had was not enough as well, that they could, with their own bare hands, help with the rescue work. Now, they practically stormed the gates of the premises, but they were turned back by security operatives. So basically, these were the issues that they had. And even leading up until tomorrow, they just felt that rescue work was slower than they expected. Some also complained about the kind of equipment that was being used, or that is being used. They complained that the excavators that were being used to pull out some of the rubble may not be the right equipment that should be used, like you can see on the screen. Their fears were that with these excavators, there could be possible harm survivors while trying to clear the debris from the rubble of this 21-story building. But then again, one would expect that the people who are carrying out these rescue operations are experienced people who are, who should know what best to do. So basically, these are the challenges that, or the grievances that relatives have been having. Although one of the officials came out to explain why it seemed like the work was suspended on Tuesday, they said that just as the excavation was going on from the top of the building, that there was some cutting of heavy metal and concrete at the bottom, and both could not go simultaneously, so one had to stop for the other.
Right, Bernard, it is a sad situation because we know families of people who are waiting for their loved ones to come out are still around that premises as we speak. Now, the executive governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was at the site fielding questions from reporters and addressing relatives who lost loved ones. He made comments concerning setting up a panel of inquest. Let's watch this.
This is an event that one can say that indeed mistakes were made from all angles, and this is an event that truly really should not be happening in a modern day city like Lagos. So for us to get to the real issue of what had happened, I've set up a high-powered commission of inquiry. It's a strong professional investigative panel that are consisting of everybody from outside of government, and I'll roll out the names of the members. It's a 5-member with 1 secretary that's also external, and they've been given a clear terms of reference. Right, later today I will be meeting with some of them, and we'll identify where they're going to work from, and we're going to give them a 30-day assignment for them to wrap up and tell us indeed, professionally, what had gone wrong here and who are the culprits and what do we need to do. But unfortunately, we have 21 confirmed mortality, meaning that people that have been taken out from this site that have been taken to the morgue, 21 of them.
From that speech, now that was a speech from the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu talking about how a 5-member committee will be created outside of the government officials. Now, Bernard, from that speech, can affected members rely on yet another panel at this time?
Well, whether we like it or not, there clearly was going to be a panel set up to look into this collapse, the collapse of this building. It happens everywhere, almost every country in the world and in government. So it was expected that this will happen. I think the good thing is that the governor did say that this panel will be made up of officials who are not, or people who are not government officials. And I also want to believe that that is to clear all sorts of biases, because already there is some lack of trust in the way the government is handling it by the people, basically. So if the governor had mentioned that there will be government officials in the panel, it would only increase the lack of trust by the people. So now the next question to ask is, who are the people that will make up this panel? Are they going to be credible people? Are they going to be people who are experienced when it comes to architecture, building, civil engineering, and anything that has to do with buildings and collapsed buildings? Are they people who can be trusted? And then when the result of this panel does eventually come out at the end of the 30 days, like the governor said, will it be a credible result? Will it be a result that will be made public? Will the people be satisfied with the result? And then what will happen to victims who have suffered losses, to family members, to the owner of the property? If eventually it is seen that it's a criminal case, maybe substandard materials were used or corners were cut, or the building was not supposed to even be 21 floors like some have claimed it wasn't supposed to be, what will happen eventually? So these are the questions that I believe will be asked. But it was unavoidable. There clearly was going to be a panel that will be set up.